Alright, this is just for people that are trying to take a quick look at studying tonight. I had this worked all out today, and at the very end when I was saving it, I made a error and deleted it all. So you won't get to see me teach these concepts, but I will review them, and then tomorrow when I get to school, we will reteach these. I'll make another video, and if you're having trouble with any of this, you can use that one. Okay, so on this test is going to be these 5 things. HST, and you'll have to be able to estimate it and calculate it. You'll have discount, and you have to be able to estimate it and calculate it. Then your next one is where you put those two ideas together, and you take the discount off of the price of the item and then add the HST, and there's different ways of doing that. Then we move on to wages and commission. Commission is a different type of wage or money that you earn based off of a percentage of things you sell. Wages is basically how much you get paid an hour, or some people are on something called salary, but we didn't do any of that. And we also discussed the idea of overtime and time and a half, and all of that will be in your wages and commission. And lastly, we did currency exchange, where if you were going into another country or buying goods from another country, not all countries' money is worth the same amount, and they're all based off of a base unit, and some countries are worth more, their currency, and some is worth less, and you have to be able to convert between the different currencies. So I'm going to get you started, and mostly I'll just be kind of reading. You can fast forward if you do know something. Just keep moving until you see the page that it is that you want to listen and see a little bit more about. Okay, so the first part is mental math and how to calculate percent. I told you the story that when I was younger, it used to be 15%. There was something called PST and GST. Those were 8% and 7 put together to make 15. And 15 actually made it quite easy to estimate, because you took 10% of something, and then you took 5% of you took half of that other amount. It was really easy to estimate the tax on whatever it is you're buying. 2010, that changed to HST, and now it's 13%. And we still kind of use the 15% estimation trick, and we just take a little bit off because we're looking for 13, not 15%. Anyhow, here's an example here about how we do it. So if we were trying to estimate what tax is on a $40 item, the first thing we do is we take 10% of it. And we know that 10% as a decimal is decimal 1. And when we do that, we take 40 times decimal 1, and that is going to equal 4, because 40 times decimal 1 is 4. You move the decimal place 1 over. It's mental math. We've done this. And if $4 is 10%, well, half of that is $2, and that would be 5%. So that's pretty good for when I was a kid, or when not even a kid, before 2010. But you need a little bit less than that. So you could estimate $1.50. You could even go as low as $1. So let's call it $1, because remember, it's only an estimate. You just have to get it close. So a good estimate for 13% on a $40 item is $4 and $1. So $5 would be a good estimation of tax on that $40 item. And tomorrow I'll show you an example of how to go ahead and do that. Okay. Now I gotta change page. Here's how you actually put HST on an item. So before was estimating, but here's actually putting it on. And there's 2 methods. Method 1 is, you may have learned this last year, and it's closer to method 1, but definitely when we get going, I would love for you to go into method 2. Now both of these methods are completely fine, completely accurate. One is just less steps. Do the one that you understand the best, because it won't take you that much longer to do method 1. But anyhow, if your cost of the item is $245, you're just going to multiply that by the tax. Tax is 13%. We write 13% as decimal 13. So we're going to take 13% of 245. Remember, we talked about of being before. That's a word for multiplication. And we multiply it. So tax on $245 is $31.85. Then we've got to add it back to the regular price, or the full cost of the item. And then we put the two together, the item plus the tax, and it's $276.85. That's how you do it and figure it out. But there is a quicker method. You can take $245 and multiply it by 1.13, not just 0.13, but 1.13. And if you read this and remember the 1, this first one right here, that stands for the cost of the item. 1 times 245 is 245. And the decimal 13 part of it is the tax. So what you're doing is you're multiplying it by the full price and the tax in one step. And if you multiply it here, you come straight to the same answer of $276.85. And that's where many of you were. The next part is discount. And discount, we looked at two different ways. Discount is just sale price. It's money being taken off of an item. And we were able to estimate it first. And again, when we start estimating, we're always going to use 10% as our basis. So we use 10% because it's based on numbers, and we know how to multiply by a decimal number. 10% is decimal 1, and we know how to multiply any number times decimal 1. You just move the decimal place in the number over one spot to the left. So if a $70 sweater is discounted 20%, we first figure out what 10% of 70 is. And 10%, which is decimal 1, times 70, it's going to equal 7. So if 10% is 7, 20% would be 14. Because, 20% is twice as big as that, so 14 is twice as big as that. 10% is $7, so 20% would be $14. And you do that with different ways. If it was 15%, you would take 10% of 7, then you'd take half of that. So it's, again, and remember, it's only an estimate. You take 10% to start, and then you take a piece off, or you multiply it, whatever the percentage off is. When we're calculating discount for real, we're not estimating, there's two methods to do it. The first is to simply multiply it by the discount. So in this case, it was a $70 sweater, and it's 20% off. It's the same question that's above. And in this case, if it's 20% off, you can take that 20% and change it to a decimal, which is decimal 2. You don't need the 0 there. And that's going to be $14. But remember, that $14 is the $14 that's taken away. So you take $70, subtract 14, and you get 56. But method 2 says that, well, I want to do it shorter. So instead of multiplying it by how much you don't pay and then subtracting, we can just say what percentage of the item we are going to pay. And if you're not going to pay 20%, that means you are going to pay 80. Because 100% minus the 20% you're not paying equals 80. So you can take that 80%, turn it into a decimal right there, and you'll get the exact same answer, 56, and it's a few steps less. This way may make more sense when you're first starting. This way, if you learn it, really seems like a better way to do this type of work. Down below, I have done these questions. I didn't erase these ones like I did the others, and I did them both ways. This way I have 30 times decimal 2, 20%, gives me 6. I subtract 6 from 30, and I get 24. Beside it, instead of taking 20% off, I just kept the 80% that I was going to pay, turned it to a decimal, and I got the same 24. And you can see the two are similar here. In question 2, this is the 15% off. It's $300 off. You take it away from $2,000, and you get $1,700. But in this case, you don't pay 15, so you are paying 85%. Turn that to a decimal, and you get the same answer in a lot shorter time. When we apply discount NHST, there are 3 methods. One is longer, one is medium, one is pretty darn short. But you have to do the one that you feel best about, most comfortable. So if we have a guitar and it's on sale 30% and we want to put tax on it, remember you have to take the discount off first. Method 1, there were 3 or 4 or 5 of you that like doing it this way. So you took the price and you took the discount off, and 30% of $650 is $195. That's how much money you're saving, so you have to subtract it from the original price, and you get this $455. Then you multiply the tax. Tax is 13%, so that's decimal 13. The tax on $455 is $59.15. And if you add the two together, you get 415 bucks. That is a correct way of doing it, not my favorite, and shouldn't be yours as you get into the intermediate classroom. Here, however, you can start by saying, okay, I don't have to pay 30%, so I'm going to pay 70%. And that will eliminate these steps here. So 650 multiplied by 70% is 455. And then when we do that trick where you multiply it by 1.13, where the 1 in front of the decimal is the whole price of the item, and the decimal 13 is the tax, you can see that you've gone from here to here in half the steps. Lastly, for the grade 8s and some of the grade 7s, you can put it all in one line. You can do 650 times 70% and put that in brackets so it gets done first, and then multiply it by 1.13. And you can see that all the answers are exactly the same, and all of your work has been shown in each of these questions. That would be the strongest. That would be the second strongest way to show it. This one is completely accurate and you wouldn't lose any marks, but why wouldn't you try to move yourself towards this way? As I look over here, it looks like I did one of them using all three methods. Here is 45 times 25% off. That's how much off it is, $11.25. You see, in this case, I subtracted it from my original cost, which gives me $33.75. Then I multiply it by tax, 13%. It gives me $4.39 tax. Add the original, or the price, discounted price, and it gives me $38.14. The next one is this second method, and I just take it and multiply by decimal 75, which is 75% of the number, or 75% of the item, and then multiply by 1.13, and I get the same answer in half the steps. And then lastly is where you write it as one algorithm. That is for probably the grade 7s, but the grade 8s learn that you could put a number outside a set of brackets without a multiplication sign, using something called the distributive property, and it's still good. So this would be a wonderful way for my grade 8s to show it, 1.13 times 45 times decimal 75 in brackets, and you will get the exact same answer of 38.14. Wages and commission. Wages, how much you get paid. It can be hourly, and then you calculate how much you make in a day or in a shift. You may calculate how much you make in a week. So again, you would add up all your hours and talk about your week. Maybe it's bi-weekly, maybe it's monthly. You have to pay attention to what they're telling you in the question of how many hours they want you to include there. And it's pretty easy to do. You simply multiply your wage times the number of hours you're working. So for this case, if she does an 8-hour shift in $15 an hour, it's 8 times 15, it's 120 bucks. Pretty simple. Commission, however, is an addition to your salary, and they give you a percentage of the stuff that you sell. So in this case, it's 10% commission on $45,600 worth of paintings. Must be an art studio. So 10% is decimal 1. You don't need that 0. And it's $4,500, $4,560. This shows you here that you're really just taking that decimal place and moving it over. So when you do that, that's your commission right there. So a couple of examples that I left from before, because they're pretty simple. 16 hours for a 40-hour week. 16 times 40 is 640. That's $16 an hour times 40 hours is 640 bucks. Similarly, if the question was how much do you make in an 8-hour shift for $18 an hour, it's just 18 times 8, 144. That would be $144. Commission, there's 5% commission, that's it as a decimal, times how much you sell, and that's 2,250. And this is 10% commission on that, that's 250. There are places where you get commission and wage, and you'll have to put those together. So that's what these brackets are for. The first set of brackets is for your number of hours multiplied by your hourly rate. So in this question, this person works an 8-hour shift at $18 an hour, and that's what this 8 times 18 is. But also, John gets a 5% commission on how much insurance he sells. So if he gets 5% commission and he sold $2,800, 5% as a decimal is decimal 0.5 times 2,800, that's 140 bucks. So in this case, the 144 here, that's his hourly wage, that's his wage for the shift, and this 140 is his commission. So altogether today he made $284. In this example, this person's working 30 hours a week and is paid $18 an hour. So that one is the wage. That's the wage, 30 times 18. And this second part is the commission, the 2% of sales of 4,300. You multiply those two together, that's $540 in wage plus $86 in commission equals $626. One of the last things we talked about was overtime. Overtime happens when you work more than 40 hours and you get what is called time and a half. So whatever your rate of pay is plus 50% more. So what you do is you take your rate of pay and you multiply it by 1.5. Not only is that when you get over 40 hours, but also if you work on a holiday, on a statutory holiday like Christmas or New Year's or Easter, they have to pay you, the government says the business have to pay you time and a half. So when you're doing time and a half for this one here, he's working $23 an hour, but he works 55 hours. So remember, 40 hours is how much you get paid regular, and everything after that you get paid more. So that's why this 40 times 23 is, that's 40 of this 55 hours times 23 bucks. Now, if you take the 40 away from 55, you get 15 hours left. And 15 he's going to get at time and a half. And before I had it written out over here what 23 times 1.1 or 1.5 is, but that's it right there. That's your overtime wage. So you put your regular wage plus your overtime wage, and that's what these two numbers are here. Manny gets 920 bucks regular pay and $517 overtime pay, which is awesome. And together he gets $1,437. This one here I'll show you tomorrow, but an $18 an hour pay on a 10-hour shift, because it's Christmas Day, all of these hours are overtime or time and a half. It doesn't matter that he hasn't or she hasn't hit 40 plus hours yet. On statutory holidays, all the hours are time and a half. So you'd have to start by taking this $18 an hour, multiplying it by 1.15, which would give you $27 an hour, and then multiply that by 10. So right here, if I had it written down, it'd be $27 an hour times 10 equals 280 bucks. This one here, 49 hours at this, 40 of these hours will be at $18.55, but the extra 9, the 9 more hours over 40 will be at 1.5 times that salary, and it will look a lot like this question up here. Lastly, we talked about currency rates, and everyone's currency is not the same. So the rule of thumb is if you're converting other currency to Canadian, you're going to multiply by the exchange rate. And when I say Canadian, Canadian is the base in this question because it's a Canadian text. If you were in the States, probably the American dollar would be the base number. So this would say other currency to American and American to other currency if you're in the States. But we're not. We're talking Canadian dollars. So this rule of thumb can be written down and kept in your head a little bit better as this little rule here in the box. And these are all the different exchange rates on this particular day. It changes daily. Sometimes it changes, from the morning to the night. It's always in a state of change. But an example would be $45 is how much in Canadian. If we were to take another person's currency and take it to Canadian money, we're going to multiply. Excuse me. So 45 times the exchange rate of .9519 equals $42.84. So $45 Australian would only cost you $42.84 Canadian. It wouldn't cost us as much Canadian to buy it as the Australian dollar. Yeah, so to get 45 Australian bucks would only cost us $42.84. Similarly, we're going to go Canadian to Mexican pesos. So this way we're going to divide because we're going from Canadian money or our base number to a different currency. So it's 130 divided by whatever the Mexican peso was, which was decimal 0.5985. I hope I finished the question. Yes, I did. And when you divide it, it's 2,172 decimal 10 pesos. If I had $130 Canadian, I could buy 2,172 decimal 10 pesos. And here are a few examples that I did. I'll show you tomorrow again when I do the whole thing. But that's how you do that. And these are all the concepts that are going to be on your quiz. I will try to do better tomorrow morning and have this so you can see me going through each of the steps. But this should be good for tonight. Thank you.